This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening to students present for today's session. Is my voice audible to all of you? So actually, yesterday's class we had done with filling of the initial information of the Toyota's case, sorry, of the Volvo's case. Yes, now all of you have clearly understood till there. Do you have any doubts with regard to that? Right. Do you want me to repeat that part for you? Volvo's case, filling up the basic information. If yes, you can put up in the chat box. If you are silent, it is understood that it is clear for you. If you want me to repeat the information, basic information which we had feeded for the Volvo case, I will rework it on that again. Okay, fine. So it's assumed that it's clear for all of you, right? So before going to the income statements and the cash flows and the rest of the Volvo's case, okay, I would like to give you two case studies which you had done, debt calculation actually. So two case studies which I'll give you again. It could be a revision for you as well as reworking on the same concept again, so that you know. The concept becomes much more clearer for you. So, and then we will proceed to the other new concepts. And Toyota's case, we put on hold because you're going to complete these concepts, and then we'll come back to Volvo case later. Okay. So I'll just share the screen with you. You can just work on those two cases which I've given you, the debt schedules. Yes, this is the first case which you're supposed to do it. The first case is where a loan taken in the bank is 6 lakhs, the interest rate is 18%, and the loan period is for 5 years. Okay, so by the end of the fifth year, your closing loan should be zero. So, this case I have given to you, I've shared the screen with you. So, you can just start working on the same in your Excel file. Okay, and after doing these cases, you're going to go for the other concepts, and then we'll come back to the Volvo case study.
Ma'am, have you shared this with us?
Now, not shared this with you. I'm just putting on the screen directly so that you can just capture this and you can start working on that. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So, in case once you have done working, you can just let me know. I'll be giving you the other case study. Are you working on this statement or have you already completed it? Okay, fine. So, have you reached at the end of the fifth year as zero, or did you have any issues regarding that? Fine. So, you'll move on to the other case now. Fine, good. So, only one is answering. What about the rest? Are you still working or? Fine. So, I'll give you the other case study now. Yes, this is for 5 years where a loan of 18 lakh has been taken from the bank and the interest rate is 15%. So why don't you start solving this? There is no gap here, so you can just need not consider this gap. Have you finished off this case? It's been done. Have you finished off the debt schedule? You're still working on that? What about the other students? Only one is actively responding to my classes, I suppose. Still doing. If you're still doing, then you tell you're still doing. I'll wait for you. In case if you're still working on that, put a message that I'm still working and not yet completed. Fine. Another 5 minutes. We can finish it off. Then I'll give you the other case studies. Then I'll go for the new concepts. Fine. What explanation should be done, Ananya? Once more. No, I have not made any explanation. I just asked whether have you finished off the debt schedule. If you're still working on that, you take your time and you finish off. Another 5, 7 minutes, you can finish off. Okay, if you are done in case, then I'll give you the other exercises. Okay. Fine. Done with the schedule? Shall I move on to the next part? All of you are done, right? Super, super, super. Fine. I'll give you again one more case. Yes, this one. Now, case two you're going to do. Then I'll teach you other new functions in Excel before I move on to your Volvo case study. Important bits in your FM. So you can just solve this case. Remember we had done where loan taken in the bank is the previous case was 5 lakhs. So if repayment is done equally for 4 years, you have to arrive at the net debt at the year end 4. So why don't you start working on the same? Yes, are you done with the schedule? You're still working on that? Fine. Now I'll teach you a couple of functions which are very important in your FM as well as in your Excel. Okay. Now, in case if you're aware, I just want an answer from your side as well. Let me test it. Now, let's say I have a mix of data. Let me put up in the Excel sheet. Okay. Let me see. In case if you're aware, it'll be super. Otherwise, I'm there to start with those concepts. Okay. Now let's say I'm having a mix of data like this. I'm having 45. I'm having as AST. I'm having 56. Mix of all. Okay. This is the case. Okay. I'm having a data like this. Now here, now how many cells have numerical values? We have only two cells which are having numerical values, which is 45 and 56, correct? But how do you get the result? And by using which function in Excel would I get this result? Anyone is aware of this? Or almost all of you are aware of this? I've got four cells which is having both numerical value as well as the text. Correct. Now I want to know how many cells carry the numerical values, whether it is two cells, three cells, four cells. I want to have the count of it. So how do I do that? By using which function of Excel? Is anyone aware of it? You can put up in the chat box or you can unmute and you can give me the reply. None of you? You should not Google and give me the information. So yes, only Nandini is aware of the function, not the others. It is called as the count function. Okay, so I'll give you and explain you all these series of function. So what you can do is you can go for a new sheet. Okay, anyways, you have done your VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP functions and all that, right? In addition to that, a few functions in Excel which could be very handy for you. Okay, to learn Excel in a better way as well as your financial modeling. Fine. So let me go to a sheet, new sheet in Excel. I've already gone. You also go forward for it. Okay, now, yes, getting back to my Excel sheet. Yeah, see here we have, I'll add one more. Let me having 34. Okay, so this is the case. Fine, this is the case. Now I will apply both the functions, count A and count. So I'll first apply count. This is the count function. And I'm going to select the data from the first cell to the last. Okay, and shift key, close the brackets and press enter. So the answer is given as 3, which means only 3 cells have the numerical value. The rest is having only the text. So it will count only those cells which are having numerical values. Now suppose if I change from ASD, let's say to 108. So it will give me the result as 4 because 4 cells have the numerical values. So that's how your count function works. So count function, okay, is applied where it will only give you those cell numbers which have numerical values. Okay, so hope this concept is clear. Okay, so next I go to the count a function. Okay, now what does this count a say? equals to count A. Again, I select from 45. Yes. So, which means count A means what? Whether the cell contains text, whether the cell contains a numerical value, irrespective of that, how many cells have been utilized. It will count all those cells. See, so 45, 108, 56, U, and 34. So, irrespective of whether it's a numerical content, whether it is a text content, it will count the total number of cells that have been utilized. Okay, that is your count A function. So, count means it will count only those cells which contain numerical values, while count A function counts those cells which have been utilized or which have been engaged or used or however you define. Okay, so this was your count and count A function. What is count blank? Okay, count blank is very interesting to be frank. Now, now I'm having data appearing in the 5 cells, correct? Now see what I do. Now I'll appear here, apply count blank. Okay, and I'm going to select again from here to here. Shift key, close the brackets. So count blank is what? It will count those cells which have been left blank. But here, all the 5 cells have been engaged. They have been used. Now let's say I remove the content in one of the cells. Fine. I take out the content in one of the cells. I took out and I press enter. What happened? Even though I'm having one blank cell, it is still showing me as 0. So is Excel giving me the correct result? I've removed before you only, right? I've removed the content before you only, but still, your count blank function had to show one. One cell is being left blank, but it is not showing. So, is Excel giving me the correct result? Or what may be the mistake? Yes? If you could rectify it. Yes, anyone? I hope you have got my question. I have removed the content in one of the cells. Now, what is the meaning of count blank is? It will count those cells which have been left blank in the Excel sheet. So, one content I have removed. It was like this. I have removed it. But still, it is showing me other cells see they now immediately count function got changed. It says I'm having only 3 cells which are having numerical values because one cell you have removed it off. But why is the count blank function not giving me the updated result? Why it is not changing its result? What may be the reason behind it? Yes, any guess from your side? Yours, it is showing as 1. So I think I have a mistake in my laptop. My keys are not working well, Christina. Right? So how come miracle in Christina's system not working in mine? How is it possible? Yes, others have tried. It is still showing you 1 or it is still showing you 0. For how many it is showing as 0? Same. Same means what, Nandini? It is showing 1 or it is showing 0 for you? Wow. So what could be the reason? So I think I am then something is wrong with my system then, right? So only two have reacted to that. What about the others? Have you tried it out with the count blank function? Maybe it doesn't take into consideration delete. Is it so? Now you have to be very conscious when you're selecting the keys to remove the contents in an Excel sheet. See here, coming back to the screen. Now, what key I would have used here? Okay, I have now, according to you, now even though I've left one cell blank, it is not giving me the updated result. Okay, so it was this, okay, and I have removed the content but still it is showing as 0. So your count blank function only works when you have used the backspace key. If you use the space bar key, your count blank will never work actually. Otherwise, a proper delete function. But if I use a space bar key, space bar means what? I'm going to add some content in between or something, some expectation will be there. So henceforth, Excel will assume that the cell is not being blank. Some content is to be filled up. So that's why it will show as zero itself. But the moment I use the backspace or the delete option to delete the content in the cell, then only a count blank function is going to work. So immediately it shows you one. But if I use the space bar key, it will not show as one. It will be zero itself. So this is how your concepts work. Count function, count a function, and count blank function in your Excel. Okay. And next is you have a concept, a very interesting concept, which is called as trim function in Excel. What is this trimming? Trimming in general terms means what? Cut short, cutting it. Making it short. Okay, yeah. So how do I apply this trim function in Excel? I'll give you some exercises to work on that for sure. I'll display that exercises you can work. Now I'm practically explaining you how you go about it. I'll put up that presentation to you. You can work on those exercises. Okay. So coming to your trim function, what does this trim function say? Now once again, so this was your. Let me elaborate here. So this was your count function. This was your count a function. This was your count blank function. Okay. So here, coming to the trim function. Now see, trimming is, let's say I give it as MS space Excel. First, let me display how this function works for you. Then I explain you for what reason we may use this trim function. So we have a space between MS and Excel. I don't want that space to come in between. Okay, so I want to cut short that. So how do I do that is equals to trim. I select this cell B7 and shift key close the brackets and I press enter. So what happens? That unwanted space will go off. This is how your trim function works in the Excel. Okay, I'll repeat again. Let's say I put up as okay with a lot of spacing in between. Okay, and yeah, just coming down. Yeah, so here equals to trim. This is how your trim function works. Okay, yes, this is how you can go to that trim function. And one more also answer. Yeah, I told you that how it works. See what happens, at certain point of time, we will be importing the data from a PDF or from a website to Excel. So what happens at that point of time? There will be some spacing issues. Whenever we are importing, from any other source to the Excel, we will have the spacing issues. Even you all would have experienced it. So that time to cut down that unwanted space, we can use this trim function in Excel so that the data appears in a very legible way. Okay, so this is how your function works, your trim function works. Okay, next you have a function which is called as power. Power, you have done even in your school days actually. These are a few functions. So let's say I take a number as 5. Okay, this is a number 5 equals to power. The number is 5. Okay, comma to the power of 3. Now 5 to the power of 3, what would be the answer? 125. 5 5s are 25, 25 into 5 becomes 125. So 5 to the power 3. I'll show you again. If I take the number as 2, okay, equals to power 2, comma 2 to the power of 5. So what would be your answer? 2 to the power of 5. Yes, 2 to the power of 5, what answer will you get?
32.
32. So I press enter, I'll get the answer as 32. Fine. So I'll give you some exercises where you can work for count, count blank, count a, trim, and the power of function. Give me 2 minutes and give you the exercises for the same. So I'll be sharing the screen with you, the presentation. You can just work on those exercises for all three. Count, count blank, and count a. Okay? Yes, I've put forward. You're able to work on all the functions. You're doing it. Have you finished working or you're still working on the same? Anyone? Count A and count blank. You finished working on the same? Super. Okay. Why don't you try the trim function as well as the power function? Have you tried that? Please try it out. The power and the trim function. Very good. Fine, fine. So I hope all these concepts are clear for you. Okay. Count A, count blank, trim, and the power function. Okay. So coming back here. So these are the few functions which you can go for it. Okay. Which is count blank and count A. Now suppose, let's say, okay, we have the let's say a database. We have like marks and everything. Okay. I'm just putting a small database. Okay. Let's say I'm having here names and here in short all the marks. For accounts, okay. Let me take off all these things. Okay, and here I'm having it for stats, economics, your business studies, or your PU related concepts. Okay, so here I'm just going to update the marks of all the four subjects. I'm having for four students A, B, C, and D. So accounts out of 100, A has scored 65, B has scored 71, C has scored 80, D has scored 69. Statistics again. A has scored 78, B has scored 64, C has scored 89, and D has scored 71, 76. Here again 60 for economics for A, okay, 53 for B, for C it is 75, for D it is. So it's like this. I've got the marks here. Fine. So now for this database, fine, you can apply the, what do you say? Two things. Okay. One, I'll explain the concept of the pivot table. Okay. The other one is your conditional formatting. These two important concepts are there. So what's a pivot table is, see here, we are going to select the entire table. Okay. I'm going to select the entire table. And here I go to your insert tab and I go to pivot table. First option we have is pivot table. Here you need not make any kind of changes, just give it as OK. What this means is, what table you're selecting, the database, is this the same? Yes, it's already been selected. And where you want to put up the pivot table. Is it the new sheet or the existing sheet? If you want the existing sheet, you have to select the location here, somewhere, anywhere where you want to put up the pivot table. Otherwise, usually it will be the new sheet. So the new sheet means exactly in the next sheet. So since this option has already been selected, you can give it as okay. You get a pivot table like this. Okay, so here nothing has come into picture. Okay, so here you're just going to put tick marks against these columns. So you get your pivot table readily done. Okay, so this is how it appears for you. Okay, so you have your row labels and yes, and all the names against it A, B, C, D, and the sum of accounts marks, statistics marks, economics, and the business studies. So you have a totaling up of marks subject wise of all the students. Okay, so this is the basic pivot table which you're seeing. Now, how do I more explore this pivot table? Now, by default, the pivot table gives me the sum total of all the subject marks. By default, that function is applied. Let's say, apart from the sum, I want to calculate the average, okay, or who has got the highest marks, who has got the lowest marks. Okay, I can do it by applying those functions in your Excel sheet. Okay, so now this, before going to applying any functions, now we've already done with the subtraction function, the average function, and all when you were doing your Excel before starting your financial modeling, right? So another two functions I'm going to teach you now, and I'm also going to give you exercises in your next class. But I'm just putting those exercises before you. Now see, I'm having these marks, correct? Now to this table itself, let me apply the maximum function. Max function is such that which will give you the highest value in the table. Max is the highest value while minimum is the lowest value. Now see, this is the max function which I'm going to put up here. Maximum equals to max. Select the database, shift key, close bracket, just to get to know who has got the highest. So 80 C has got, like that. So for rest of the subjects, I want to know who has got the highest marks. So which is the highest marks? I'm going to get the answer. So highest marks in statistics is 89, highest marks in economics is 75, highest marks in business studies is 71. Okay, so this is how I'm going to get the max function. Again, minimum is the opposite, equals to minimum. Again, select the database, shift key, close the brackets, and press enter. You get 65. The lowest marks is 65. So you get for all the subjects. Like this here you can work out. Now going back to the pivot table, okay. Now here by default the sum function is being applied. Let's say I want to know highest marks is which in the account section. So what I'm going to do is, can you see at the bottom here, you have fields here. We have filter field, columns field, rows field, and the values field. Okay, so here you will go to the values field, and there, if you can see, sum of accounts is being put up there. Sum of accounts is being put up, and next to sum of accounts, you have a drop down menu there, a drop down option. Just click on the drop down, and can you see at the last you have value field settings? I'll repeat again. Now, moment you click on this pivot table, you get this pivot table fields, right? So at the last, can you see towards your right hand side of your screen, you have values. And below values, you have sum of accounts, sum of statistics and everything. So you can go to sum of accounts and the drop down menu is next to that. Just click on that and you go to value field settings. So just click on the value field settings and by default, your sum function is already applied there. Okay. Now I don't want the sum function. I want the highest who has got the highest, what marks is the highest in accounts. So I go for max. I'll select here max function and give it as OK. So I got to know like 80 is the highest marks in the accounts paper. It's like that. Again, I go to the statistics. I click on that value field settings. Let's say I want the lowest, which mark is the lowest for stats. I get 64 like this. How I want, I can tune my table. And that's a wonderful, what do you say, application of your pivot table. So like this, which function I want to apply and see the result I can do in my pivot table. And I can also shift my rows and columns, okay, for my convenience. Now, rows, of course, you have all your students' marks and everything, and columns you have your names. So we can just shift it up. So rows you have all your names, and columns all you have your values. So you just swap it now. See, I just put the rows, the names into the column, and values into the rows. Just transpose it. So I can get like this as well. So like this also I can build up my pivot table. Okay. And coming to conditional formatting, I'll teach you off in your next class along with the continuation of your old skills. Okay. So hope all these concepts are clear. In case pivot table is not clear for you, in case if you have doubts, I will solve it off in your next class. Is that okay? So I hope it's clear. In case if it is not there, I will again repeat it in your next class. Fine. So keep your practice going on, and tomorrow we'll again go back. Of course, obviously finishing off your conditional formatting, as well as your continuation of your Volvo's case study. Fine. So until then, see you tomorrow. Until then, bye.